If you have a target market and you're targeting a general market, then you're not targeting anything. So targeting a market is all about targeting a niche for yourself. What is branding? Branding is an opportunity to create your personality or your company's personality, whatever it is that you created. And this can forge a closer connection between you and your customers. And that's why branding makes or breaks a brand. So in this episode, we're going to talk about 7 ways wherein you can stand out with your brand. You ready? Let's go. The key to branding is always about being able to differentiate your brand from another brand. In other words, it's to stand out, not to fit in. You don't want to fit in because if you fit in with another brand, then you'll be lost in translation of what your brand is trying to be. Does that make sense? People think that branding is just a logo. Like when you see a logo, that's already the branding. No, it just starts there. A good name of a product or a brand starts with the name and what the logo stands for. If a brand stands for something that is of quality or something that can endure. Like I'm going to mention brands, a lot of brands here. Like for example, Levi's. When you say Levi's, it's jeans that can last the test of time. And if you, for example, compare it, let's say with H&M jeans, for example, it's not something that can last. It's going to put itself in a category of affordable, maybe close to the perception that it's cheap, but it's fashionable. Every brand has its own distinguishing factors of what makes it unique and depends on the target market. Because if you have a target market and you're targeting a general market, then you're not targeting anything. So targeting a market is all about targeting a niche for yourself. That is one of the most important factors of branding. It's not just a brand, but how you portray it to people. So branding is the total sum of what your company represents. From the brand name, design, and how you communicate, those are keys to a business model and its value. Number 1 on how you can stand out. Don't follow trends. Instead, create them. It may be different factors. It could be a product, it could be a service, or one thing that differentiates your product from another, like jeans, for example. If let's say normal jeans have pockets in front and at the back, so you can differentiate your jeans with having pockets in different areas. It can be the rivets, the buttons, it can be a button flyer or whatever. There's a distinguishing factor that makes it different from somebody else. And it could be the trailblazer of that compared to others. You offer something unique or different, not just everyone else that does the same thing. Because you don't want to mimic the competitors that you have. And the thing is, if you're trying to be a copy of someone else and you're not trying to be better than what you're trying to copy, then what makes you different? It doesn't. Let's just give an example of t-shirt. T-shirt will always be a t-shirt. That's why with guys, it's so hard to make a t-shirt different because the shape of the shirt will always be the same. But if it's a loose cut or a fit cut or a regular cut, it's still a t-shirt. You're not going to have a t-shirt that's just one sleeve, right? Or something with no neck. It has to have a hole here. It has to have a hole. There can only be a few ways that you can translate what a t-shirt is. It's always going to be a t-shirt. But what the color is, the fabric, the type of print that it can have, the GSM, the count of threads that it has, or just the pure quality of a shirt can make a whole lot of difference. Comparing you, it's going to be the biggest difference between your price of this compared to a high luxury brand that's priced this way. So that's number 1. Don't follow trends, create them. Number 2, you have to be able to communicate sincerely what your message is. If you cannot explain to a 5-year-old what your brand means, what it's for, why you built that brand, why you made that brand, then you will have trouble trying to explain to an adult what this product is. If you have a clothing brand just trying to target a general market and you're trying to explain it to a young kid and you cannot explain it in layman's term or in the simplest form, then you'll be having trouble trying to connect with your market. So you want to speak to your customers with sincerity and show that you have personality. With that, it builds a sense of authenticity because with brands, you want to show that you are authentic to them. They feel what message you're trying to portray is something believable. It's a dream that you can believe in. If you have a dream, you want to share that dream with someone else. If you're trying to make a brand that says eco-friendly, then you have to be able to portray that message that this brand is trying to be eco-friendly in all sorts of ways. Or else they won't believe you. Because when you're able to build trust, that's when people will actually pull out their wallets and actually pay for something. I've studied the habits of people and why in retail stores, people actually pull out their wallets and pull out their money and credit card to pay for something. And when you ask them what's the reason why, it's because they resonate with what they're trying to buy. The girl who buys a dress, why they buy it is because they resonate with the brand. Like when I say, you know the brand Forever 21, right? It's a brand that targets a specific age. And it says 21, which is 21 years old. It's a simple message, but the brand itself shows that it's targeting that audience. It's not trying to target an audience that's 50 years old. It's targeting someone who wants to look forever 21. And it's so basic, it's so easy to communicate it, and it shows the sincerity of what it's trying to show. So that's number 2, communicate sincerely. Next thing that you want to do is you don't want to be afraid to experiment. Let me explain this. You gain more respect and loyalty from people who share your views and opinions. People like those brands that have their own opinions and how they see their vision being put out. It creates a lot of respect and loyalty from the people around it. In that turn, it develops a strong brand identity by itself. Whether it be a brand new design or a technique or a company stance that you have, whatever it is, don't be afraid to experiment and show new things. A lot of the brands that you see now that are very popular, they're actually trailblazers of what they try to do. Let's just give an example like Off-White, for example. They blurred the lines between streetwear and high fashion. You don't know if it's high fashion or streetwear, but it's own lane, right? And there was this brand before, I remember, an Antisocial Social Club, and that brand showed that it belongs to a different segment of a market, which was never there before. And now that brand has created that. I can give so many brand examples of that wherein they were never afraid to experiment new things, not because it was based out of someone else's idea, but because it's something that you created because of the need of that sort of idea to come out. Those that create brands are those that have a vision that is very unique from everyone else. And the brands that are not successful are those brands that try to just mimic another brand because it doesn't show their originality from that point. Thus, they don't last long. I'm not gonna name those brands that I know that didn't last long just because they were copies of certain brands. It shows who becomes successful are those that are willing to take a risk to actually experiment new things for themselves. So that's number 3. Don't be afraid to experiment. Number 4, and this is something very important for me, which is to repeat your brand message over and over again. For example, I'll give Soul Slam as an example back then, is that the message we kept on repeating is that it is for sneakerheads and for those in the market for the street culture. That's it. We never talk about anything else besides it. If it got attached to basketball or music or, street art or whatever, it was just because it's directly connected to it. But the message will always be directly connected to sneakers and street culture. As a brand, you have to keep repeating that message over and over again. Any brand that you think of, let me know in the comment section. Keep on repeating the same brand message over and over again. Like Vans will always say that they are an underground brand. You can't be an underground brand if you're making billions and billions of dollars annually. But they do really believe that they're an underground sneaker brand. They're not Nike or Adidas or all those big brands that you know of, but they think that they are still an underground brand. And that's a brand message that they repeat over and over again. Same thing goes for any big brands that you can think of. They think, for example, if you're a bag company and all you produce are bags or storage, they keep on repeating that this bag will last a lifetime over and over again. Because why do you buy bags? Something that will last long, right? Or you're a bag that doesn't last long, but it is very fashionable. So it is a different brand message that you portray. So you have to keep on repeating what your brand message is. And for a brand that always change their message, problem with that is that the market gets confused. Are you a bag company or are you a clothing company? I don't want to name a brand that's a bag company, but they made bags and they started making shirts, clothing. And it didn't make sense because they were making bags. And now you're making t-shirts, hats, and everything. So it does not make sense. Instead, they went back to their vision, was just making bags, wherein they started making wallets, luggage, everything that's related to carrying things. And that's how they got back on track. But they stopped doing t-shirts or pants because it didn't make sense. Number 4, always repeat your brand message. Even if you're so tired of it, people will never get tired of your same message over and over again because you're conditioning your mind. You're conditioning the consumer's mind that you're this. When I say toothpaste, the first thing that will probably pop into your head will be Colgate. I don't know, wherever you are probably in the world, it may be a different brand, but most likely it will be Colgate. They've established themselves. When you say soda, the first thing that comes out will be Coca-Cola. I'm not gonna say any of the competitors. Okay. Number 5, and this is, I think, one of our expertise at Aguirre Advertising is that we help you with great visibility. When you're a brand and you have a message, you want to portray that message to as many many people as you can, because that's a great way to have organic reach. You can't say that, oh, we just want to target a small audience. Yes, that's true. You want to target a small audience because that is your core. That is what we call your tribe. If you're starting with a new brand, you need to create your tribe, which is the first 100 people. That 100 people are those people that actually buy your products, regardless if you sell crap. They'll fuck with you because whatever you put out, they believe in it. So it's about creating your tribe, and that is part of the marketing that it entails. Being visible to someone, for example, if your brand is being shown to your friend, and maybe your friend does not like your brand, but if he shares it and he shares it to another person, it could be the next person who could be your next member of your tribe. Never think as if you're trying to just target a specific market. Yes, what I said earlier, you want to target your specific market, but to be able to reach that, I mean, why do brands even do billboards? Because when you have a billboard, let's say in EDSA, Bench has a billboard in EDSA, they're not targeting everyone. Everyone sees it, but it's a brand recall. And they know that when they're trying to buy, when they go to the mall and they see that billboard, it gives them a sense of, okay, let me check this out. Because it's conditioning your mind that it's something that you should think of when it comes to clothing. Similar to Smart, it attaches itself to people who are famous. Bench was one of the trailblazers when it came to influencer marketing. I remember back then in the late 80s, I know this commercial wherein, it was Richard Gomez doing this thing wherein he was rowing. It was just a commercial about Bench. And he was a famous commercial model back then. That's how I started. I think Bench was the early adopters of using influencers as a term of marketing their products. And today, influencers are huge. Like, you can be an influencer regardless, but that's another topic. What I'm trying to say here is that getting great visibility for your product is the best way to actually sell your product. And it's not just through traditional, which is just magazines, billboards, and ads. It can be now as organic as having itself being done on digital media platforms like social media. That's what we do for Aguirre advertising, right? For our client. Get great visibility for your product, which is number 5. Number 6, and this is all about exceeding expectations. You want to under-promise, but you want to over-deliver. You want to deliver an experience much more than what you actually paid for. There's a Tagalog term for it, like sulit. Like when you buy a pair of jeans and you bought it for, let's say, $100 or 5,000 pesos, and it lasts because it's not a fashion piece, meaning it's something that you can use every day, regardless if it's fashionable or not. But it can last you a lifetime. Like a denim jacket can last you a lifetime. When you paid 5,000 pesos for it, is it sulit or worth it? It is. You want to exceed the expectations that's put into it. That's why there's value in a brand when it's labeled with that. When you say Levi's, it's going to last a long time compared to another brand that's just there for now. In comparison, I'm just comparing it, for example, to a fast fashion brand. Let's say that it's cool now, but the denim jacket with so many writings or so many patches was cool in 2016, but if you wear it now, who's going to use it? Maybe in 20 years, it's going to go back, but it's going to be vintage. But if you wear it, it's not fashionable anymore. So that's just the comparison that I'm doing. But anyway, it's all about exceeding the expectations that was given from it. When you buy something that lasts longer than what you paid for, it does exceed the expectations, right? So that's what most brands try to do. It exceeds expectations of what they put out in public compared to what they offer. That's number 6, exceed expectations. And number 7, and I kind of have to repeat some points from 1 to 6, which is you don't want to try to please everyone, or don't try to please everyone. Why? Because if you're trying to please an entire market, if your product is not a general product, let's say a toothpaste will always be a general product. It's not as if, it's good for a kid or for an adult. It's because the product is for everyone. What I'm talking about is with a clothing brand, for example. If you're making a product specifically for specific age group, demographic, maybe it's just for ladies, focus on your niche, and that niche will carry you. If you're trying to make backpack for hikers, do it for hikers, not for those that you'll never be able to get those who are into high fashion to buy a hiking bag because it's not fashionable, and vice versa. A 500,000 bag will not be used for hiking unless you're just that crazy. What I'm trying to say is you're not gonna buy a $10,000 bag and use it for camping, and it's just insane. So focus your marketing on what you're trying to capture. That's what I'm saying here. If you're trying to sell to everyone, thing is you're not selling to anyone. So like with Soul Slam, we weren't targeting people who didn't like sneakers. It's all people who like to look from the feet up or dress from the feet up. I remember that message we tried to do. Sneakerheads dress from the feet up, not from head down. Like whatever shirt. If you're not a sneakerhead, you don't wear from the feet up. You wear from your shirt to your pants to your shoes. With a sneakerhead, they pair something from here based on what's down there. It's different. And that's what one of the messages we kept on repeating and repeating. Like we make shoe contact before we make eye contact with sneakerheads. It's all coming back to like the marketing strategies that we used to do to promote sneakers as a general point. But that's number 7. Never try to please everyone, because when you please everyone, it's not going to work for you. And as a bonus, I want to share with you 7 steps to creating a stronger brand. Number 1, you want to decide your brand's core values. Number 2, you want to define your key features or benefits. Number 3, you want to characterize your target customers. Number 4, analyze your direct competition. Number 5, you want to build a visual identity. Number 6, you want to set your tone of voice. And number 7, you want to reinforce your brand values over and over again. Question of the day: do you have your own brand? If you do, let me know in the comment section how your brand stands out or how your brand could stand out based on what we discussed here earlier.